Mridula, you are ready?
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the next session of Together We Can. Mridula Gorey, and she will be talking on corporate counseling and coaching. It's a very interesting subject for me and very dear to my heart because in our day-to-day activities, it's very important. Like the behavior, the counseling, and if it is it's a different aspect of the counseling. So I'm really eager to hear from Mridula, and it's my absolute pleasure and honor to host her on this show. So welcome Mridula on our show Together We Can, and I will request Manoj Kunte to talk a few words and introduce you on this show. Thank you, Manoj.
Hey, thank you so much, Vidya, and really appreciate your initiative to host such kind of really phenomenal what you call series on different topics. And good evening and good morning, depending on your location and country where you are from. And it's my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to Mridula Gore. And I know Mridula right from my school days, and she has really phenomenal what you call educational track record. She was topper from our school, and she a lot of things have she has done in our educational qualification. Okay, she stood in top 2 or 3 in board exam and multiple things. She has completed her engineering in electrical engineering from phenomenal or one of the very well known college, Sardar Patel from Mumbai. After completing her education, she worked almost 28 years in various different what you call type of work in manufacturing as well as software development, consulting, and project management, so on and so forth. When she when she was working, she was working as a vice president in one of the well-known consulting firm. Okay, that is a European consulting firm. And right now for past couple of years actually her focus is more on completely different topic. She has completed her MA, and then she is right now doing coaching and guidings and multiple different things, counseling and so on and so forth. So we are really eager to learn from Mridula, and all yours, Mridula.
thank you, Manoj. Okay. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Vidyaji and Manoj for this opportunity, and thank you all for joining. Let's begin. I'll share my screen, Manoj. Okay, we will start. Yeah, you said something?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Mridula.
Okay. We are starting with a small story, the story that you must have learned in your childhood. The story is about Hirkani Burus that you see here in this picture. This is Hirkani Burus of Raigad. Raigad was the capital of Shivaji kingdom, and he had drawn some rules and regulations for the protection of the fort. Hirkani was a milkmaid who used to come to the fort every day to distribute the milk. There was a rule in the fort that the gates of the fort used to get open at the time of sunrise and closed at the time of sunset. And the guards there were very strict about it. One day, Hirkani somehow got delayed, and by the time she reached the gates, they were already closed. And the gatekeeper said that you cannot go down because there is a rule that nobody can leave the fort after sunset. Hirkani pleaded to the guard, saying that I have a small baby at home. She needs to be fed. She's so small and can't do on her own. So I need to reach home and I cannot stay back. The guards were very strict. They politely said, though we understand we cannot do anything about it because we need to abide by the rule because the question is about the protection of the fort and the rules are defined by our king for the purpose. So you have to stay back. You be attentive next time with respect to time. The poor lady went away crying, and next day when the doors were open at the time of sunset and guards were standing for their usual duty, they were surprised to see Hirkani coming up the stairs. When she came up, they asked her, "You were stuck in the fort last night. How could you manage to go down? And you are coming up now. We need to inform the king because you have broken the rule." So they informed Shivaji. Shivaji came forward and he wanted to know exactly what happened. How did she manage to go down? So he talked to her. She was quite frightened and she told him that I needed to go home because my child was waiting, small baby, and the guards were not letting me go down because of the heat. So I tried to find the place on the fort from where I could manage to go, and somehow I went from this place and we showed a steep cliff. She was not able to put a step there when she was asked, "You can try now." She was not able to do that. But somehow at the night, she had managed. Shivaji thought about it. People thought that because she broke the rule, she will be punished. But instead, Shivaji rewarded her. And he took a hint from this incident that if one Hirkani can go down at the time of night from this fort, someone else can come up and it's a threat to the fort. So he immediately took action, built the construction for fortification, and named it Hirkani rules because it was a question of the protection of the fort. That's a small story. And history has always taught us one moment. Huh? Yeah. History has always taught us lot many things. And Shivaji has always been the inspirational guru in all specific things like leadership. Here also he exhibited the great values of leader. He came forward himself to see what the matter is. He knew that the rule is broken, but he saw the intention behind it and rewarded her. He was long sighted who could find and imagine that somebody else also can have similar intention and come up. Though Hirkani had a positive intention, but it could be possibility that a human being can do that and some enemy can try it. So he immediately took that action. The guards who were abide to follow the rules and they were very strict about it. They also showed the alertness and informed Shivaji, though it was a trivial looking incident of a milkmaid, they informed Shivaji because the question was of the protection rule respect to protection. And most important about Hirkani, something which appeared impossible, she made it possible. How and why? With the great motivation and focus. That is what we see here. We all understand and agree to such things. Our mind accepts it, but in reality, are we able to follow these kind of activities and able to exhibit these values? We are not. Why? Because things revolve here around the mind. The mind has at the same time multiple unrelated thoughts are getting in the mind. When we are at office, we think about home. My son is not scoring well. My daughter is behaving rudely these days. House is very busy. Car to be maintained. Parents not well, and whatnot. And we bring some tension from office to home. Report to be completed. Targets are not met. Boss is aggressive. Colleagues are not cooperative. Which means where we are, we think of the other thing, and a lot many unrelated things clutter in the mind at the same time. This preoccupation impacts the effectiveness. With the clutter, there is confusion. Confusion leads to
तू
anxiety,
काम कर रहे हैं
chaos, peace. This state of mind people get in at multiple times and multiple occasions.
Mind heal and
When
flourish.
revolves around this mind, what is mind? It's said that it connects heart and brain, but anatomically, physiologically, there is nothing like mind that can be seen. There is a research going on mind and brain using the same very mind and brain, but mind is yet to be understood by all of us. For us now, let's look at it as a seat of thoughts and emotions. As far as brain functions are concerned, it's related to autonomic nervous system, and that's the reason it impacts hormones and other secretions. This is the mind-body strong correlation, and it says that 80% of the diseases are psychosomatic. Mind generates thoughts. These thoughts are based on our own belief system, and the belief systems are based on our preconditioning experiences. Nature, nurture, culture, all plays a role here. Out of these thoughts, few are constructive, realistic, useful, while some are imaginary, exaggerated. Thoughts lead to emotions, emotions lead to actions and behavior, and that gives us result. This is the chain with which certain thinking and the behavioral pattern of a person gets built. This becomes a habit, and unknowingly or unconsciously, person tends to react in the same fashion. He interprets the event and situations around in a similar manner. This is kind of a habit, and it said that habits are hard to change. We need a lot of effort to build a habit. Here again, I remember another small story of my childhood, Churi Wale Baba. It's a bangle seller coming to a village with a big pack of bangles, and he used to carry that big pack on the back of a donkey. People used to laugh at him, make fun of him because he used to talk extremely respectfully with the donkey, and people could never understand why. One day, a person asked him, "Why do you talk like this to your donkey with so much of respect?" Chudiwale Baba said, "I'm a bangle seller. I interact with ladies of different ages all around, and I have to be extremely respectful with them at all times. Even unknowingly, even at one time, if I say something which is little disrespectful, I will lose that trust and that impact my business. I do not want to have that make that happen. So I want to ensure that anytime I address anyone, it has to be only with respect, and that's how the habits get built." I mean, this is just a story because we are never alert about habit forming. So I thought I will share this story with you. These habitual actions or these patterns, they make our neuropath. Whenever we react, our reactions are from this unconscious mind. And when we respond, it's from the cognitive thinking from our conscious mind. In normal circumstances, we react or respond from our conscious mind. But whenever there is unpleasant situation, unforeseen event, something unusual, then automatically what's there inside the unconscious mind, the pattern, the neuropath that comes out. And at times, it may not be very healthy. It leads to stress, it impacts the body, it impacts behavior, and this body behavior impact again generates stress and emotions. It's like a vicious circle. Even when we are seeing today in the current scenario, which is quite unpredictable, we are seeing the similar thing happening. But we need to deal with it and move forward. To come out of this confusion, I'm still putting PDCA because Plan, Do, Check, Act. Most of you could be able to relate to it. That's the reason I have put this PDCA. It's Plan, Do, Check, and Act. The first part is planning. Identify where you are now, where you want to go, how you want or how you can go there, and what next. Though it looks very simple here, in reality, to implement it and continue this whole process, it's not very easy. That is where counselor, coach, mentor comes into the picture. These terms, they have subtle differences in their meaning, but for now, in this context of today, what we are talking, we can treat them as same. Counselor acts as a catalyst. Catalyst is something which presence is mandatory in the process, though catalyst never plays a role or is never a part of the chemical reaction. Its presence is mandatory because without catalyst, the reaction cannot happen. That's the rule. Counselor holds the lamp and shows the reality, different options, and helps to navigate, facilitate the path so that the counselee is able to take the appropriate action. Somehow this deal is never understood, never appreciated. We all take preventive steps for our physical fitness, like diet, exercise. In spite of taking this step, sometimes we feel uneasy. But body heals itself if some rest is taken. If still person feels feverish, he may take a medicine. If he still doesn't feel okay, might visit physician or take an antibiotic and gets back to normal. Some precaution will be taken. If it's something like diabetes or hypertension, it's a lifelong medication, lifestyle change. This is normal. This is acceptable. This is what people are willing to follow. But when it comes to mind, what happens? Mind has a great impact on body and is equally complex. But somehow we tend to take it for granted instead of paying the appropriate attention to it. As a human being, we are bound to go through different issues and caught into different types of emotional, even unhealthy at times. But being a human being, we need to understand how to deal with it and come out in a better manner. I take example of anger, which is one of the most common emotion. Of course, intensity might change at various times, but it's a huge potential energy. And this anger is not always fruitful as we see. Because when the person is angry, that energy has to go somewhere. Some people shout, it comes out in a destructive way. Some people suppress it, and then it takes toll on the body. And if this anger remains in the mind, if it's not gone out or thrown out, the peace of mind is lost. Again, here I remember the case of Shivaji. He was extremely angry with the injustice put by Mughals and the torture they did with the people around us in the country that time. But his mother, mentor, Jizabai, channelized this energy, this anger in a very positive, constructive manner, and we could see the tremendous goal of Swaraj. Thus, we can use all our emotions in a positive manner. It's better to understand mind and emotion and keep it healthy always. Rather, use this power to go beyond. Get that extra mile. We can use the power of our mind if we use it consciously, use it constructively. So, with this determination, let's start our planning stage now. Defining the goals is only the first step, but it is most important first step because without which we cannot go beyond. And good start is always necessary for success. Here we are talking of SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. The way we define the final goals, it is required to have intermediate goals as well as a checkpoint to ensure that we are on the right track. And if fine tuning is required, it can be done. We are looking at the complete life wheel as a balance so that we are seeing at all different aspects of self and also the life as a whole. So we have complete clarity in respect to this different areas and how we want to proceed. We may have all parts of jigsaw puzzle, but if we do not know how the final picture looks like, in spite of having all parts, with trial and error, we will struggle and take long time or maybe even not able to complete the picture. Do we want to do this kind of a struggle, this kind of a trial and error with our life? Definitely not. Because if we don't get control of our life, our mind, our actions, it takes control of us and then we get carried away. Definitely we don't want to it happen. Now, once we have defined these goals, it's not that they will remain static throughout our life. Because as we grow, we have different aspirations. When we achieve one set of goals, we always feel that we want something higher. We are demanding more, as we say. Even the basics are in place, we are not complacent. We still feel that something is missing, and we want to know what is that something which is beyond. Generally, unless we have the earlier level achieved, we do not move on to the next level because it's like a precursor as normally we see. We are not comfortable to directly go to the higher levels because that's a necessity, that's a need. That's why it is put as a need of hierarchy as put by Muslims. Maybe somebody will like Tukaram can directly jump to the level 5. But people like you and me, the normal common people, we could be struggling at level 3 and 4 at times this time and want to go further. We are seeing big achievers, entrepreneurs, they are already at peak in their business, but still they work for 12 hours, 14 hours, put a lot of hard work. Why? They have further bigger dreams, further bigger goals. It's never enough. They always want to strive for something, and that's how human mind is. We can have great dreams as we see, but if there are only like dreams, it's like Mungeri Lal ke Hasin Sapne. We want them or our dreams or our goals to come to reality. Underlying principles for all goals or all achieving the goals more or less remains the same, but here we will focus on the career goals. We are starting with this individual values, organizational values. Alignment of self with the organization is quite important. Every organization has its own culture based on the industry, based on the geography, based on the value of the board of directors or the group that is driving it. As we say, government organizations have a different culture. It's a local organization, family owned, multinational, NGO. Everything will have a different course, different flavor. Like we say, Tata's and Ambani's in India, it's a common example given for the core values or culture of the organization. We need to keep our personal liking and disliking away and follow the professional ethics. Company and employee grow hand in hand. We should always remember that. Those who have their own business need to take their employees along with them. Only as a single person, as an owner, they cannot win. Expectations from peers, teams, senior, juniors, colleagues, customers, stakeholders, all different roles are different. Whether you are in this role or you are interacting with these different roles, you have to play your role appropriately with respect to the expectation at that very time. Working together as a team and cooperation is extremely important. Even with the customers, you need to work as a team, having the common objective because teams win. Led by example, understand difference between manager and leader and where the appropriate gap based on the need of the other need of the situation. Be aware of the effectiveness. It should not happen that operation successful but patient dead. We don't want to get into such situation. Typically, there is a tendency of finding the areas of improvement. We always seen this in our appraisal, areas of improvement, and we work towards it. Making a small change or addition in the area of improvement takes tremendous efforts, time, energy. Instead, if it's not coming in the way or not very detrimental, it could be a good idea to use this as skill by some other expert to supplement us and focus our energy to strengthen or increase our own core strength. Focus more on this area, the gain is more. If you look at the energy you spend, effort you spend with respect to gain, focus on your strength, it will give you a bigger mileage. Next important aspect is managing own stress and needs because it impacts the efficiency. One can hold a heavy bag of load on the back for some time, but if he continues with it for a long time, it will only add to the pain. So learn to keep it down from time to time. Changing the gear, switching the gear from role to role is an art and it is required for better long-term results. You can try and follow 3D principles. It is do it, delegate it, or discard it. If we want to delay it, reschedule it, but then revisit it only when you are going to do it. Because if multiple things keep lingering in your mind which are not of utmost importance, eventually nothing happens. Few of you might have experienced this because you lose focus, you lose energy. If we follow this and have only a small action list instead of a big gobi list, if you have a small action list which is doable, realistically doable or realistically to-do list, we can have use our positive stress because we exactly know what's to be done. Another important aspect is communication. It's not wrong if it's said that the quality of life depends on communication. That's the importance of communication. It's required at all stages, everywhere. There is nothing like it's perfect. There is always room for improvement whenever it's communication. Communication doesn't mean that how well you are able to talk. What it means is whatever you want to convey, the other person has understood exactly the same way and you get the result. It's a two-way process because listening, verbal, non-verbal is equally important aspect here. There is a huge flow of information from all our five senses all the time. It's a huge data coming to us at every individual, every time to time, and they all are associated internally. But the human mind has a capacity to hold and process only seven chunk of pieces at a time, which means what happens to this huge data? it gets deleted, it gets distorted, it gets generalized. And how it happens? It happens as per the personality, as per the patterns developed in that particular person, how he or she thinks. So there are different neuropaths for every person, so there is a different interpretation. That's the reason communication we cannot say like mathematics 2 plus 2 is not always 4. I say something one person understands in one way, other person may understand it in a different way. This is normal and natural because that's how our brain is equipped. Only 7 pieces of chunk it can address. But being aware of this fact and associating it appropriately makes a good communicator. We are talking here of a communicator and not a orator. There could be good orator, but only the one who's able to touch and reach the minds of the people and make them act. That's the successful person. At the same time, we might say somebody may not be a good orator, but he could be a good communicator because the essence of communication is conveying appropriate things in appropriate manner to appropriate person. We have seen scenarios in our organizations, specifically in support services, SLAs, service level agreements are extremely important. But we have seen there instances where SLA is met, but customers are not happy, there are no repeat orders. But we have seen vice versa also. Managing the customers, getting the customers in our own way and get those orders, it requires communication. That's the strength of communication. The marketing people can immediately relate to it. Now, with all this learning, are we ready to go to the next step? Yes. This is what we mean by excelling in what we are already doing. Most important here is consistency. It is said it is comparatively easy to attain success, reach at the peak, but more difficult to be there to retain that success. One has to be firmly grounded for it. And as we know, there is no shortcut to success, there is no substitute to hard work. Let's add some smartness to it. Try to do things in a different way if one specific way doesn't work. It is said that practice makes a person perfect. It's not true. Perfect practice makes a person perfect, and that takes him to progress. If we feel Lata Mangeshkar and Asha Bhosle, as far as we are concerned, they are perfect, but they never gave up their practice. Even now, till now, they continue with their practice, whether they sing professionally or not. Bigger the struggle, bigger the success. Dreams are good, but people do not like the pain associated with them. But no pain, no gain. One has to go through it, one has to tolerate it. That's a process of success. Losers take pain and failure as a demotivation. Winners take that learning out of it and motivate further. We all have 24 hours in a day. Winners use it constructively, creatively, efficiently, and effectively. That's a trick. Otherwise, most of us many a times say, I can't do this because I don't have time. Look at how things can be done rather than why it cannot be done. That's like giving excuses. This all requires very high level of self-discipline, high level of self-commitment and emotional strength. Find your motivation and focus. Do what is required to be done at that very point, at that very time. Doing right things at the wrong time does not help. Timing is quite crucial. At the same time, it's equally important not to do what's not to be done. And that's required huge alertness. Performance is not always about your capability and skill. It's how you could do better at that particular time, that event, that matter. Balance between concentration and multitasking is important. We should know when to apply what. Here again, I remember one interview that I saw last week. It was a retelecast of some old interview of Sachin Tendulkar. Everybody was praising him, saying that he makes his own tea every morning. He presses his own clothes at the night, every time. How down to earth he is, how self reliant he is. He smiled and said, self reliant, yes, because that's the value I learned from my father. Pressing the clothes I do with a purpose. I used to put together my own practice kit when I was in a learning phase, and I continue the same because when I press my clothes, I get associated with the relevant things which are going to be there with me at the time of match. I cannot think about match at 9:25 when the match starts at 9:30. So this is what getting in the groove, getting attached to what you're going to do, thinking about it, connecting your mind, body, complete alignment, and focusing on what you want to do. Then slowly this gets into your personality, and that's how you build and sustain performance and consistency. Whew. Tired with the big list? Now question is, what's there for me? We looked at all these points. These are generic rules, observation. Of course, they are proven and useful, and they are applicable and found relevant to many people. But still, it's like a theory till there is a definitive plan at a personal level for an individual. What works for every individual may differ for his role, for his own personality. When we talk about weight loss, there are many things. Every 2 hour eating, eat only 2 times, keto diet, protein diet, and whatnot. But whatever suits your body, your metabolism, your eating habit works best for you. Similarly, there are multiple options for fitness. Gym, walk, aerobics, yoga, Zumba. Select what you like, whatever suits you. Only then one can sustain, do it regularly, and get benefited. Otherwise, we know starters do it for 2 days, then take a gap. Then again, after 2 months, they remember and they start. This happens when you don't like it 100%. So ensure and start with what like. What is good for others may not be good for you. The way we say about diet, protein diet could be a good diet, but somebody is suffering with gout. Protein diet is not good for you. So what is good for every individual, it's required to be upfront from. DNA of every person is different. So coaching every person is different because every person is unique. I remember a quote I had seen in a labor room in a Gynec hospital. It got registered and I still remember it. It said human birth is the most common thing in this world. Still, every birth is a mystery. It's so true. It's important to understand your own potential and priorities. Understand what is gifted talent and what is achievable through effort. Lata Mangeshkar can see in Kali White Peach. That's the way she is born. That does not mean that we cannot or somebody else cannot or should not sing. He may have Kali too. That's his potential. That is his starting. That is what he is given. It is necessary to build how much one can build based on that, based on the given talent. Should know how much to stretch, when to stretch, where to stretch, and at what cost. Well thought decisions only can take you to a long way. Otherwise, people may leave things in between, or it may have some adverse impact. A is doing, B is doing, so I also must do the same. This is somehow the psyche or mentality of people we need to come out of. Strive for excellence. Do better with respect to your own self day by day. That's the competition. That's the way of doing things. Find your highest motivation. Go to the next level. Think hard. Initially, it may appear like a force. When you have a higher goal, initially you have to be very strict with the discipline. It may appear like a force, but if you continue doing that, slowly you will adjust with it, then you will adapt it, then eventually you will internalize it. That's easy and natural. You have achieved the first step. Go to the next. Based on your first step, that's the base now. So you can, based on that, go to the next step, go to next, go to next. That's how excellence gets built. Success gets built bit by bit, frame by frame, experience by experience. It never happens overnight. Winning mindset has to be created and nurtured. So be ready and start your winning mindset. That's all I had to share for today. If there are any suggestions, questions, you can reach me here. And I now hand over to Manoj Vidya. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mridula, 1 minute. Let me on my video. So anybody has any questions? So specifically for me, Mridula, it was a wonderful concept, like, corporate counseling. And I was always been curious about this topic, and you demonstrated it so well, like to achieve something, what are the steps and how we have to go, and how we have to hit the target. And I like that, like, developing the smart goals. I jotted down few points: that smart goal, final and milestone goal. I think that is a really important thing, like, depending upon the phase, depending upon the stage, depending upon what you need to achieve. And we always should have something realistic goals, not something like, something which will be over ambitious planning or some like that way. So it was the best thing that having a smart goals. So it was a wonderful session, and I'm so happy, like, to learn from different topics on this Together We Can. And this was something unique topic, like corporate counseling. And this is a lot of the important thing and a lot of requirement we have in the corporate for this. So can I ask you something? How, like, do you go to the, like, do you have a tie-up with corporates and you give the sessions like that way, or how it works?
Uh, mm, Being in the corporate for a long, and I was also associated with HR related activities to an extent. I used to do that there, but then what I realized it, and that's the main reason I shifted my focus, because in trainings or in groups there are multiple things said. That's the reason even in my last slide I stressed on that point. If in training in group people are told certain things, it remains on paper. They close the book and go back to their normalcy. So that's the reason for effectiveness that personal one-to-one coaching is something which I found more effective. And as a tie-up, yes, with corporates, as in terms of this COVID specific thing, there are some helplines put up in place because people are struggling. And nowadays there is a concept of one session therapy, because people do not want to go. I mean, typically counseling, people have in mind that counseling is like archaeology, you dig down and then you know what to do. This is one session therapy. Even in corporates, we find there is a specific issue, and that for specific issue, how to deal with it. So it's like a one session therapy. You can call it coaching, whatever you call it, depending on what the area is. As I said, the terminology is slightly different here, but that's how it is.
Okay. Rahul is asking one question on the chat. Do you do personal coaching, and can you share this Zoom recording? So I want to ask you, can we share the Zoom recording with anyone if they need it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And do you do personal coaching?
Yes, I do. That's my profession.
Yeah. So can you write down your contact information in the chat? So email ID or something so they can have it?
Sure, sure. Actually, I have put up in the slide. I'll put it here. Yeah, I'll put the email address.
Yeah. So we'll wait for 30 seconds. So if someone wants to copy it, they can copy it, the email ID. And yeah, it was a wonderful, because Manoj has written, like, I agree to Manoj's comment that it's a more gain is a more pain. Very true. Like, more stress for everything. And this is something like increasing day by day. Like, for the job, uh, the not exactly the job, like, opportunities or the job challenges, but everyone wants to, like, we have to achieve more, we have to achieve more in everything. And when we have to achieve more or gain more, then there is more pain. Yeah. So it was really wonderful to have you on this session. Thank you so much, Mridula. And I think we will hold one more session like that way after few months. And thank you so much once again. Ashwini, do you want to talk anything? I think she's on a mute. So thank you so much. And then see you soon. Ashwini?
Hey Vidya,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Mridula, I would like to say thank you to you. It was really a great session, and we have never heard such kind of session, corporate training on this motivation level. So it is really great, and we were looking forward for one another session from you,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
And yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank
And thank
you
you
and good
for
night.
giving your
Yeah.
time. Yeah, thank you.